actually saw that particular brand, right? So that means you multiply it by 30 or 33, 100,000, 3 million. 3 million people, Gani, have, as people from all over the world, have seen your photographs, have read your content, have gone through that experience of going through your Airbnb listings, right? 3.3 million people. That's massive. That's massive in terms of the brand, like, surface contact. So then, all right, so we know we have a branding responsibility there, Rizal. We have a huge amount of surface area that is in contact with our guests. Second problem, okay, so we can have a branding objective. We want to make sure that our brand is clearly communicated across this vast set of people. So it's an important thing to think about. Second one, hospitality. How does the number of photos relate to hospitality? Is there sort of like fatigue from looking at the photos? I know there's fatigue in listening to Jing, right? But is there any fatigue? That was a joke. Okay, but okay, I guess it wasn't funny. All right, is there any fatigue to looking at more photos or less photos? That could be a good question. Do people get tired of like looking at like 50 photos, right? Then there's, let's say, the marketing and business question of, is this more efficient at converting or less efficient at converting? Now, here's a beautiful thing, guys. Here's a beautiful thing. So remember, it's just to convert. Your mission is just to convert, like instant book, convert, convert, convert. But now we've talked to more people. So now what's the truth is, actually, that used to be a small aspect of what the mission should be. Now we realize, oh, the mission has other aspects too. There's a hospitality element. Wait, there's a hospitality element. There's a branding element. And then, of course, there's a business element too. So there's business, hospitality, and there's a branding element involved. And later on, there might be other things too, like a legal element and maybe other considerations to put into mind. But all right, let's ask, what is our business objective, right? Or which objective should be the priority? Should it be branding, hospitality, or business? Let's start with business first, because that's generally sort of how we make money, right? Okay, if we take it from a business perspective, then we should look at the highest priority is conversion, right? We want the most number of people to actually make a booking. So then what we can do is we can then, I don't know, set an experiment. You can take a look and ask Bayou, hey Bayou, can we do this? Can we separate the instant book tableau to show what it is on different chapters or different regions, right? And then what you can do is you could probably do an experiment with one region. And that probably is already happening, honestly, Rizal. There's might be different styles already where certain regions have more photos and certain regions have less photos. So you can take a look at that data and see, New Spanita has 50 photos, Canggu has 20. Which area has a higher instant book rate? And that would be a way of making a business decision on that. Okay, great. Next step, hospitality. Can you actually determine if it is more hospitable to use less photos or more photos, right? Hard, really hard, right? I would assume that people are very much in control of their own behavior. So if they don't like to look at any more photos, they can just stop, right? Is there any way that we can be more hospitable using the photography? Yeah, certainly, right? We can answer people's questions earlier so that they don't need to ask. Well, we can definitely incorporate that in. We can use the content as a way of customer service and customer support, and use it to delight people too as well. So, all right, then the question is, what form do you want to do that? And then it really becomes a stylistic issue, right? This isn't so much like how many photos, it's what's your style. Like, Gani, if you want to tell a story, you can tell a story in many ways. You can tell a story using a poem, you can tell a story using a conversation, you can tell a story making an Instagram story or a full-length YouTube video or whatever you want, right? So there's all these different approaches. Then Rizal, I think that then becomes your artistic approach. How will you solve the hospitality issue using the photos? And it's kind of like a painting then. Does a good painting use more paint or less paint? It's not really the most important question. The more important question is, does it actually give the viewer the correct impression of what you're trying to express? So maybe you need to use more photos sometimes. Maybe you can use less photos sometimes, right? then I think then that can become more of a stylistic choice rather than you have to do it within like 20 or 30 slides, right? If you choose to limit or expand the photo sort of thing, then what you've created is you create a format like Pecha Kucha, right? Pecha Kucha is 10 slides, 10 seconds. Do you guys know what Pecha Kucha is? Okay. All right. Pecha Kucha is a way of giving a presentation, and it's a way of making sure your presentation is very focused and succinct. Pecha Kucha is essentially you have 10 slides and you have 10 seconds, or I forgot, maybe more than 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds per slide. So Pecha Kucha will essentially, you load your slides on and the slides will auto advance, right? So they will auto advance, and that forces the presenter to be very succinct, to be direct. So you can do that. Let's say if you think that let's say a creative direction, but Rizal, I would say in this particular case, it's only like 3 people are working on the content. You could actually offer this. You could celebrate the diversity rather than having a fixed format. If you have, let's say, Rizal, million, and actually that's interesting. Airbnb does have millions of people creating content, and they leave it very flexible, right? They don't create a limit on the number of photos that you can upload. So maybe actually there shouldn't be a limit. I think this is a question that Airbnb has thought of too. They thought of what's the limit. But let's say, okay, all right, for branding purposes, for whatever, you decide that Bukit Vista should have no more than 40 pictures, right, per listing. Then that's kind of like a format now. That's Pecha Kucha. You've created this restriction in order for us, let's say, to develop something. Let's say, Rizal, as a leader, as somebody who's thinking about like structure and framework, you would create that in response, and only in response to something that's happening in your team. Let's say, for example, you notice your team just puts hundreds of photos, and these photos are irrelevant to the actual story that should be told about this property. Then it would be very smart to create like a way to make it more succinct, right? So create a format so that's more succinct and it can get the job done. It's mostly to cover people who are, not within the guidelines. But otherwise, it might be okay, actually, Rizal, to sort of, so I'm just going through the thought process and the decision-making process with you guys. It might be okay to just say, use as many photos as you like to actually get the job done, But what's more important than the number of photos is, did you get the job done? Did you express what the key benefits are in this property? Did you express what the key benefits are in the neighborhood? Did you make this actually a more desirable property than the 3 other properties that you did a little bit of research on to figure out what they offer too? Yes or no? No? Okay. Keep on working. Yes? Keep it simple. That could be it, right? So kind of like what I was talking about just before, provide the framework, but let people kind of decide on their own how much is necessary. Like, what is a good book? Is a good book 10,000 words or 1,000 words or 500 words or 50 words? It's really up to the author to make that decision. I think how many words they want to use to tell their story. Russian novels. I think I talked this with Aldo one time. Russian novels tend to be huge, right? They're like so thick. And Kezia's smiling too. She knows about this, right? But you wonder why. I have my theory on it. Why are these novels so thick? Why do they go into so much detail? And you have to understand about lifestyle. In Indonesia, we live in the tropics. We live in a place that's warm, where you kind of, go outside anytime you want. You can engage and do something fun. In Russia, there's about, I think, good 4 or 5 months where you're kind of like what we are now. You're locked down. You're inside your cabin, in the woods, in the village, and you're bored to death, right? You're bored to death because you're not in a city. You're not engaging people. You're not in cafes talking about like whatever. You're not dating. You're not watching movies. Movies don't exist. You're in this cabin, locked in the woods, and you're bored to death. Your friend is this thick novel that you went to the city to buy, and you have months now to chew through this novel, reading it 1 page at a time, savoring all the experiences on it, and it becomes your companion. It becomes that one thing, and you enjoy it, right? So we kind of need to understand the context too. Yes, there's going to be an audience of people that probably want to understand more. There's going to be an audience of people that just, okay, get to the point, right? And I think You as, let's say, a designer of the framework, you need to think about how do I direct the work of our team to be able to appeal to both parties, right? How do I appeal to the people who want, I need the facts and I like to savor and enjoy your story. So you can probably win. You can probably win with one format that appeals to everyone. Put all the key points in the front and then put the details in the back. And you can have this as episodic. You can have it as chapter 1, the villa, right? Chapter 2, the area. Chapter 3, the top greatest things that our guests love to do. So if you break it down into chapters, the people who like need it fast, they can get their information right away. They don't need to scroll through a bunch of like details to understand it. Chapter and so on and so forth. This is what Andrew means by being more attentive, I think, to the guest journey. Understand the guest journey as they're moving through your photo sequence. The photo sequence is linear. One photo, next photo. It's not like random. They can't just like pick whatever. So you have an opportunity to tell the story. You have an opportunity to frame it like a book, one chapter at a time. So, Rizal, I think that could be a good framework. Like chapter 1, first 10 photos for this, next 10 photos for whatever, and then whatever number of photos afterwards, choose to tell the story that you want, but be intentional about what story you actually want to tell. And that, I think, will be a consistent, on-brand experience that is respectful of the person who wants to get it done, but also informative for a person who wants to browse and understand more. And once people see that, they will trust your brand. And this comes back to the idea, Gani, of brand promise. The thing that a brand really means is trust. They know that when they go onto your listings, they will get they'll know what to expect, right? They'll know the first 10 photos are going to be the key, and then after that is going to be like, the middle part and so on and so forth. When you go to McDonald's, when you go to KFC, it isn't like weird, right? It isn't like where's the place where I order? Oh, it's in the back now. I can't find it, right? It's always in the same place. It's always you walk in the door, you see where to order, you know how to order, and it's all very clear. Okay, so that I think is my best advice for structuring the best practice. It doesn't necessarily need to be a number, but I think it can be, that part can be optional, but just what you put in the front, what you put in the middle, what you put at the end. Okay, cool. Good stuff. That's it, right? Okay, and then the 11:50 meeting. All right, let's jump to that. Aldo, what was the 11:50 meeting?
11:15 is about the YouTube and LinkedIn charity event.
Oh, okay. All right. So, do you guys want to stay around for that? That's just me and Gunny, right?